Hey there, welcome to Professor Purl, a YouTube channel about knitting. I'm Nicole, and this is an inspo video on using a bouclé yarn. You can find me as profpurl on Instagram and Ravelry if you use either of those. Everything I'll talk about today is listed below in the description box. All right, before we get started, I want to say that the inspiration for this inspiration video is that my friend Emily, who's the botanical knitter here on YouTube and on Instagram, she and I are co-hosting a Bouclé Makealong. We both have Bouclé yarn we want to use, and we were chatting about how we want to have a Makealong together on Bouclé yarn. So that's the inspiration behind it. She created a Ravelry bundle for Bouclé patterns, as did I, because I couldn't figure out how to add my patterns to hers. So there's two, and those will be linked below as well. It starts February 1st and ends on March 10th. So feel free to hop in and join as you're able. You can check out both of our Instagrams and our Ravelry to figure that out. Okay, first things first, what is bouclé yarn? So I'm gonna start the video with like a working definition of like what I think bouclé yarn is, like a working definition of like what I interpret bouclé yarn to be. And then I'm gonna switch to like bouclé inspiration, like the patterns that I just really have been inspired by and that I'm loving. Okay, what is bouclé yarn? I think like when I look at this, I'm like, yep, this is bouclé. Also, the label says it's bouclé. So looking at it and looking at my bouclé yarn, I think like a working definition I'll offer is that there's at least two strands or fibers that are plied together. And one of the strands is a tighter tension and one of the strands is a looser tension. And so when that happens, basically the strand with the tighter tension kind of like grabs the yarn with a looser tension, and it creates this like little curl effect, which is so cute and amazing and cozy. So I think that's part of my working definition. I also think that in general, like this tension of it being wrapped around that creates these little curls, like these are pretty much equidistant apart from each other. Okay, so that's what I interpret bouclé yarn that's labeled as bouclé and kind of like offers these ideas of like kind of creating a little curl. The first thing I want to share for bouclé inspiration is what I'm wearing. And it's gonna sound cheesy, but like this is my favorite cardigan. This is the only garment I've made out of bouclé, and it just so happens to be also my most favorite cardigan. So first I'll tell you about the design. The design is the plump cardi designed by Morale of Knitting Room My Life, and I test knit it. I mean, anything with pockets is better, right? I love it so much, and there's all kinds of special details. I've talked about this before on my channel, so I'm not gonna get into all of that. But I used Chelsea Yarns bouclé in the colorway Chelsea's Coupe held with mohair. I originally bought it to knit a something cozy sweater. I still love that sweater. Hopefully I'm popping in a picture because it's just so cute. But when I was test knitting this, the yarn called for plump yarn from Spin Cycle, which I didn't have and I didn't want to buy. And I wondered, hey, could I use this yarn that I already have that's bouclé of this pattern that isn't designed in bouclé, and like, could I knit it? And I got gauge. And I think the other thing is when I swatched, I really liked the fabric. I just really liked the drape of this. So I think one of the things I want to offer is this idea for bouclé inspiration is anything that gets you gauge and you like the fabric, you can make it. Even if it's not designed in bouclé, you can make it bouclé. And if you pick a popular pattern on Ravelry and if you use Ravelry, you can go to projects and look and see like what kinds of projects people have made. And you can do this also on Instagram through searching a hashtag. So there's patterns that have been knit by thousands and thousands of people. For example, the Cumulus blouse by Petite Knit has been knit so much. And if you look through, like, there's not a lot, but I did find one that was knit in Bouclé yarn. What? How cool is that? And I think that paired with like this, and there's other examples, like I think also by Petite Knit from the Sophie shawl. Emily and her favorites, she had one that was favorited in a boucle, and it's just like highlights that like any pattern that you really like, you can use boucle yarn. So like this particular boucle yarn is a DK weight, so any pattern that would fit a DK weight could work. I've knit a lot of love notes, so I mean, like, theoretically I could knit a love note in boucle yarn. For this project, I'm not going to because I was inspired from Kemper. When I was in the junk yarn booth, Kemper's the dyer of junk yarn, there was a sample of a mashup between the Cozy Classic Raglan and the Ruffle Butts tee. Neither one of these patterns were originally designed in boucle yarn, and Kemper combined those two, mashed them up, and knit in boucle, and it was just incredible. So I'm gonna give that a go, and I just wanted to encourage you, like, if you have a pattern you love, knit it in boucle. So what I think makes a good substitute, when I was saying you get gauge and you like the drape, I think that's like this. I really like how this was, like, if I needed a stiffer fabric, maybe that wouldn't be a good choice. I would need to knit it at a tighter gauge or something. But I think the other thing is, I think patterns that have a lot of stockinette or a lot of garter, like, those are really good substitutes for boucle because you're like highlighting this really fun texture. And in my case, both this yarn and this yarn, not only did I buy a highly textured yarn, I also bought yarn that, in addition to being textured, also has like massive speckles, which is totally my vibe and like so great. I mean, I am wearing this with a white turtleneck today, and I just think it looks really cool with black jeans. I'm just thinking it. I'm feeling good, okay? But I also think it would look really good with like a t-shirt, things like this, or another kind of crazy color underneath. And that's, I think, why it's become like a staple in my wardrobe. Okay, so I would love to know, like, when you think about your favorite patterns, like, what's a substitute you could do? Even if you're not participating in our Makealong, even if you don't have boucle yarn, like, what is like the first thing that pops into your mind as a really good substitute? Okay, next, from this point forward, for my Bouclé Inspo, I'm only going to be showing patterns that have been designed in Bouclé. And like I said, that doesn't matter. Like I offered just now, like, you don't have to have a boucle pattern to knit a boucle yarn, but I think it helps us like see it. And that's why I'm going to talk about patterns that have been designed in boucle, but just know that like anything can work out. I'm going to pull up my Ravelry bundle of patterns that I've curated that are just things that I would knit. Every single one of these are things that I would knit. I'm not going to be able to because there's a lot on this list. And I'm not even going to be able to talk about all these patterns. I'm first going to start with garments. Okay, the first garment I want to talk about that just, oh my gosh, I can't even with it. And maybe I should call it, instead of saying that I'm starting with garments, this should be called Blame It on Shayla. So Shayla from Black Pearl and Magic and I were chatting, and she said, hey, this bulky yarns on sale, Valley yarns from Webs, and I've been like tracking it and watching it. And there's just like cold weather storms across the United States. So of course, like, my yarn's not here to show you, but I bought lime bulky boucle influenced by Shayla. And I went to her favorites on Ravelry, and this was in her favorites, and I just simply cannot. And Okay, so this is the Small sweater, and it's designed in super bulky yarn, which is great because that's what the Valley Yarns is that I ordered. And it is a like quarter zip, which I think are very comfortable to wear. Like I have a sweatshirt quarter zip. I've never knit a quarter zip, but I mean, it just, and I have seen quarter zips just kind of floating around the Instagram. And so it just feels like this thing that is both trendy and classic. Like I feel like there's a moment right now for these quarter zips, but also like quarter zips have been in my life as like a garment for at least a couple decades for me. So I feel like it's this thing that would be really cool for me to make. And actually, I do intend on casting one of these on like immediately as soon as the yarn arrives and this Makealong starts. I mean, I thought this was going to be my like February 1st cast on this yarn, but I actually think it's this super bulky yarn. It's like the season for knitting super bulky yarn right now. Just feels good. I think that this is kind of interesting because the cuffs are actually knit in a fingering. And so you could do something really fun with this where you do a contrast color or you do more of a tonal. I think I've decided through Shayla's consultation that I should do more of like a lime color because I can do a fun pop of color in the zipper. Or you can do a classic zipper. Like, can you imagine like a cream one of these with like a rose gold kind of situation zipper? Or even like a black with a yellow gold. There's so many possibilities here about having fun with this. The zipper's honestly intimidating to me, but there's nothing like a Makealong to get you to do something hard. So I'm gonna try it. I really am. Okay. The next sweater was also in Shayla's favorites, but I have added it to this bundle. And this one was a contender for me and of knitting immediately. I can't even, it looks just so cozy and it looks like something I could wear to go. I'm a professor that I could go teach in, but also looks like something that I would want to like just stay at home cozy in my leggings with. I'm also a mother, so it's like looks like something very wearable, like out and about. And that is the basic teddy sweater. And yeah, this is also knit in super bulky. And you know, I'm not much of like a super bulky yarn person. I can honestly say I don't have any super bulky yarn in my collection. I have knit one sweater out of a super bulky yarn, and it does get wear. And so, or more like a jacket. So I think my hesitation for the turtleneck here was more like, that would be so warm. And I live in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, and I could certainly wear it right now. It's been very cold here recently, but today's in the 50s, for example. And if I wore a sweater like that, I just don't, I think I would overheat a little bit. So and while it's basically the same construction as a quarter zip, it does feel like I could like open the quarter zip up for a little bit more wearability. I don't know, we'll see. But I really did like that one. Okay, I did mention something cozy. I originally purchased this yarn to make a something cozy. I think it is a style I really like. Style is really like a nice nod to the Joji Locatelli boxy sweaters. I have made 2 Joji Locatelli boxy sweaters, one for my daughter and one for me, and we wear them a lot. Well, she's outgrown hers. She wore hers a lot. But mine's like this very classic staple, and that's what the something cozy reminds me of, this thing that will just this very comfortable garment that will stay in your wardrobe for a while. Okay, I love a crop and I love Jessie May, so I have to do a little shout out of the winter crop here. I love the sleeves on it. And there's another design in my favorites here that has these bell sleeves as well. There's just something about the bouclé and these sleeves that kind of bell that I really like a lot. And so I think that could be really amazing as well. Let me find the other bell sleeve sweater. Yeah, so the other bell sleeve sweater is the bi-color snuggle sweater. And so this is probably knit with intarsia. I mean, I haven't purchased the pattern, so I don't know, but it looks like it was knit in intarsia, and it also has these bell sleeves. And so I just think it's so cool because you've got the cool texture of the bouclé, you've got the sleeves, and then you don't want to have a sweater that has I mean, if you do, that's great, but like for me, I wouldn't want like lots of texture in the knitting or cables. I feel like it would get lost, but no critique if people do that with a bouclé. I'm sure it'll be amazing. But I like that it is stockinette, and so it adds the interest of like the two different colors. And I know, for instance, when I was trying to pick up my Valley yarns, there was two colors that I was just going back and forth between. And so I think if that's you, you could do this sweater. It's knit in a bulky weight, so I don't know if the Valley yarns would work, but as long as you're getting gauge, it can work. And okay, so you could pick two colors you like. All right, the other thing I noticed with bouclé yarns is this like feeling that I wanted a vest. And so I want to share this vest with you. I really like it. It's called Woolly Vest for bouclé yarn. And what looks nice about it to me is it just looks really sophisticated and structured. And this is knit by holding two yarns together, so two sport weights together. I think it's interesting. Sometimes I see this type of yarn that's bouclé knit like called a DK weight, and sometimes I see it called a sport. And so this is called a DK. So Knit Picks has a new base of bouclé yarn, and hopefully I'm popping in some pictures here, in so many different colors, and theirs is listed as a sport weight. So like that yarn, you could hold it double and knit one of these vests, and you would have just so many different colors to pick from. And I don't know, it looks like the hem on it is like one of those like folded hem things, which is what I have going on here. And I think it just adds a really classy element. And so I just can see this being worn like on a hike, over a dress, to work with dress pants, with jeans. It's just like one of these like classic staples. Okay, so the other vest I want to share with you is called the Milk Top. And this looks really like 70s to me. I can see that being really cute over like a turtleneck like I'm wearing here, or it could be worn with a t-shirt, or it could be worn over a dress. And that was knit holding one strand single in Aran weight. Okay, let's talk cardigans. So I would be remiss with mentioning this, that I knit this plump cardigan, without mentioning that Merle actually designed she doesn't call it a cardigan, she calls it a shacket. I'm putting in a picture here. I think it's called the Gold Dust Shacket. She designed it in bouclé. And it's this like, well, it's a shacket because it's like a shirt. It looks like a shirt with a collar and, you know, the little pockets and the buttons. So it looks like one of these like oversized shirts, but it's going to have some substance since you're knitting it in bouclé. And so you can wear it like a jacket, a shacket. And so she designed it in this exact colorway. And so I just remember getting like a kick out of that. I remember when I applied to test knit this, I had like sent her a picture of the yarn, and I was like, I'm so excited to do this. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I have a design coming out soon that looks just like that. I mean, with that exact same colorway. And so yeah, I just thought it was funny. Okay. So when I was searching for bouclé patterns, this one really caught my eye. Oh my gosh, it has like kind of a vintage feel to me, super sophisticated. And it's the Emily jacket from Sari Nordlund. Like, oh my gosh, it reminds me like of like the Chanel No. 5 like suits. Like I feel like Audrey Hepburn would wear this. I don't know, I just love this so much. You could also make it really funky too, with a bright color, with a speckle, super classy. All right, so my last cardigan I want to mention is the Teddy Zip. So Joan Ho, which I will talk about in a little bit, she has so many designs, and she designed a kind of cardigan or a jacket called the Teddy Zip. So it's like, it reminds me of a cardigan Mr. Rogers would wear with like a little bit of funk because of the bouclé. And I just think this would be really fun to have as an actual jacket that you've knit yourself, but it's also a cardigan too. And okay. So that's just some of the sweaters and the cardigans that I'm really loving, that are like standouts to me, but like everything that I have on my Ravelry bundle here, just way more sweaters than I'm mentioning. Check out that list if you're interested. Okay, next I'm gonna chat some accessories that just kind of stand out to me. And so the first accessory I want to mention is the Teddy belt bag. The Teddy belt bag is designed by Joan Ho, so that's why like Teddy belt bag, and then she's got the Teddy Zip. And I started knitting this almost a year ago, and basically it's like a belt bag but knit with a zipper. And I have the pieces knit. Like, here's the base of my belt bag. Here's one side of my belt bag. Here's the other side of my belt bag. And so I have the pieces knit. There's some sewing involved, and that has been a hurdle for me because I'm intimidated by it. And anytime I get like a little bit intimidated, it slows me down. So I'm hoping with this Makealong, it'll be sort of the impetus I need to rekindle this project and revisit it. And I mean, I have everything in this bag here to make this happen. I just need to do it. So yeah, I'll pop in some pictures here of the Teddy belt bag, and you can see you can knit a really classic looking version that's like in a neutral color, like black or gray or cream, and those look amazing. You can also knit a funky one. This really will be like a neutral for me because, well, like this, it is speckled with lots and lots of colors. So, so this was Bouclé held double. I can show you. It was 2 strands of Bouclé held together. And I also held it with some worsted weight yarn, and then also held a strand of sparkles. So it created a fabric. Well, here's the stockinette side, but the stockinette side is actually the inside of the bag. So the reverse stockinette is gonna be this side of the bag. I have a rose gold zipper I will sew in. I have a sewing machine, so I think I should try to use my sewing machine maybe. We'll see if I'm gonna hand sew it or not, but I think I'm gonna look at my calendar, mark off some time for me to take these out and just spend time sewing it together. Yeah, and this is the bottom of the bag. This was a kit from Summer Camp Fibers. And so I didn't buy all this individually, I just bought an entire kit that included all this yarn and a zipper. And also like the other like buckles for the belt. So, you know, I think Bouclé could be really fun to make some kind of bag. And it doesn't have to be a belt bag. It could be a little purse. It could be a little pouch. It could be a little wristlet. I think it could make a really fun carry item. Also because you can hold it double with itself. You can hold it with other yarn and still get the texture, which will create a denser fabric, which I think is nice for bags. In my Ravelry bundle, there is another bag listed besides this that's sort of a belt bag, sort of a purse, and that is the Boulevard bag by Lily Kate France. This is also made by holding yarns together, and one of those yarns is also Bouclé. This one has definitely a more structured look to it and very classy looking. And yeah, so I think a bag is going to be on my wish list to complete for this Makealong as well. Okay, other accessories. I found this pattern, which I think looks so cute, and it's called a teddy scarf. It doesn't have any projects yet on Ravelry, but it looks so cute because it's almost like it looks like it's designed to have a hole that like pops through. So maybe let me know if you're the person that adds a project on here so I can see how it turns out. But I think that looks really cool. The other accessory item I found that I just think is so cool is like a headband. Now, this is definitely Norwegian, so I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like Crowley twist. I'm not saying the O right, I'm sure. But I just think that a bouclé headband could be really warm and cozy as well. Maybe a nice piece. This particular one that's designed by Nina Ruth is knit in bulky yarn. So I think that this could be, I think this could be a really good like beginner project. Some might argue it's not because you can't really see your stitches with bouclé as well as other yarn, but it may be like that's actually why it is a better like kind of beginner pattern. I also think it's something that people who've been knitting for years and years would enjoy making, because who doesn't love a quick project to kind of like feel rewarded for finishing something. I feel like all over the internet, like on all my social media platforms, are these like hot water bottle like cozies. I mean, I don't have a hot water bottle and I probably won't knit one just because I am a slow knitter and I want to make garments, but this one's called Hottie Sweater and it's a cozy for your hot water bottle. This pattern came out in December 2022 and it's a hot water bottle cozy made out of bouclé. So if you're into that, that can be, I think, a really fun thing. Other accessories that are linked here are like things like pillows and blankets in bouclé, which could be super cool. And I think the last thing I want to mention is like a bucket hat. I've never knit a bucket hat, but I do think a bouclé bucket hat would be really cool. And I did find this bouclé bucket hat by Andrea Aho. And it also doesn't have a lot of projects in Ravelry. It does have 8. And it came out in November 2021, right on trend when people were like getting back into bucket hats. And so, yeah, I think that could be really fun to have a bouclé bucket hat. All right, so kind of like how I think I will wrap up this video is kind of for bouclé inspiration, just talking about children's patterns a little bit. So I haven't mentioned any crochet patterns yet, and that's because I don't really crochet. But when I was looking for patterns, I found this bouclé bear and bunny, and I was like, I know how to do some basic crochet. And when I was in middle school, I definitely like made some like stuffed animals, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at these bouclé bear and bunny by Stephanie Jessica Lau. My goodness, these are so cute. And what a fun way to use bouclé yarn is to make a stuffy. So cute. Okay. And oh my gosh, this one cracked me up. I would like these in adult size for real. But I can't imagine anything cuter than a tiny human in bouclé like pants or overalls. So this is a pattern that is in English and Norwegian, and so this word is also Norwegian, but bouclé buxter, I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm so sorry, but so cute to have like little overalls in bouclé. Okay, this is the Florian Lamb balaclava. So, okay, I think balaclavas in bouclé for adults would be very cool, like a very cool accessory. But picture this, a bouclé balaclava that's a lamb. I was like, I can't think of anything cuter than a tiny human with this little balaclava that makes him a little lamb. So that really pulled my heartstrings. Thought that was super cute. And yeah, so I hope that these boucle patterns just like provided you some inspiration. If I did not mention a boucle pattern that you absolutely love, please mention it below. Also check out the Ravelry bundles for the boucle patterns. And remember that if you want to knit a pattern that's not designed in boucle, that's amazing too. Okay, so the Makealong starts February 1st. It ends April 10th. If you already have something on the needles, come on in and join us or cast on something with us. More details about that are on Instagram and Ravelry. Emily and I would love to have you participate in the Makealong with us, and I'd love to hear from you below and tell us what you might be making. Anyway, happy knitting, and I hope these boucle patterns that I shared provided you some inspiration and excitement about using boucle yarn. Let me know if you're going to participate in the Makealong, and even if you're not, let me know about your favorite boucle pattern if I didn't mention it. And thanks for watching. Bye!